Generally speaking, there's a lot of research from different pockets that shows that companies that sort of put the why before the how, you know, sort of why they do something rather than how they manufacture something, outperform. I think Unilever are kind of a bit of a poster child for this sort of way of working. They've got what they call their sustainable living brands, and I think last year those brands outperformed the rest of the stable by about 70% in terms of economic growth. So they're obviously converting all of their brands to be more purpose driven. And you know, it's a big word, purpose, because it sort of spans from sort of identifying the real reason your company exists through to the sort of softer side of CSR. It's quite a large spectrum, and I think a lot of clients are a bit scared by purpose because they think it means that they have to pump money into charities, and that's not really what it's about at all. That might be a byproduct of standing for something, but it really is about sort of establishing some first principles for why the company exists, why people should turn up and work there, which is also pretty important, and then how they behave, you know, and the behaviour of brands and companies and products has become sort of pretty front and centre. A lot of companies are on the journey towards sort of, I guess, self-identification, working out what they stand for. So I would say a lot of our companies are already there, but clients are already there. Some don't articulate it particularly well. So we classically start with, at the start of our communications process, we either start with an existing purpose, or if they haven't articulated it well, we'll go through a process of working with the board or the C-suite, as they call it, to just get, you know, an articulation of why that company exists written down. And, you know, it's the same on jargon in a way, but you know, we get them to think about, you know, why they exist, what that means for the way they act, the way they behave, the way they treat the staff, the way they deliver messaging, you know, a whole myriad of different sort of aspects, I guess, to purpose. And then we'll articulate that normally in a series of words. You know, some people call it a manifesto. Again, sounds way too grand for my liking, but it's some words that actually give a collective meaning to that company. And so we don't say, you haven't got a purpose, we're not going to work with you, but it's more like, you know, it's important to consumers, so it should be important to you. So if you can't articulate it, let us help you articulate it, and then from there we can sort of look at the ramifications of that in your company. Yeah, the CMO, I think, is an important carrier of the message, because quite often they're in charge of the customer relationship, and customers care about this issue, so they have to. They also are quite often in charge of the brand, and I know that's quite a nebulous thing, the brand, but you know, the design of the brand, the language of the brand. So I think it quite often comes from CMOs, but actually, you know, HR are pretty into it as well, because, you know, another benefit when you're recruiting staff is, you know, again, there's a lot of surveys of graduates who are coming into the market who are actually actively looking for companies that they can attach and associate themselves with, which again is, they're like, well, what do you stand for? You know, so HR is touched, definitely. I think the most powerful purpose-driven brands are obviously C-suite-driven brands, where the CEO is as comfortable using that language as people in other functions. And so, but I think marketers definitely have a role, if it's not clear, to sort of drive the process of creating clarity. Creativity is about compelling ideas that motivate and mobilise people. And to be compelling now, I think in the old days you could lean into, you know, classic creative tricks, and you know, you talk to more senior creatives than me, they've normally a bottom drawer of 10 different techniques you can do to surprise and delight the customer. I think that probably the change related to what we've been talking about would be about sort of authenticity and trust as well. So, you know, it's probably not good enough now to, well, I'm going to say good enough now to just create a really exciting piece of content. That I think certain categories and sectors, maybe you can still do that, but generally people go, I kind of get it, I get the game, I can see that that's interesting, but if it has authenticity, transparency, which we could talk more about, and you kind of go, I trust that is true of that company, then people get it. So, you know, a lot of people were talking about the sort of Londoner Nike work, and everybody was saying it was absolutely amazing. I personally really liked it. I don't think it was necessarily to do with the creative treatment. I think the reason people liked it is it felt very authentic. You know, for people who live in London, we all recognise those archetypes and those people, and it was beautifully dramatised. So I think, you know, linked to the purpose debate, which is obviously what we're talking about, I think there's more pressure on creativity to be imaginative and thought-provoking, but at the same time for there to be a bit of truth and congruency in there as well. Keep your beliefs, because most people do it because of something that's a bit more than business. They do it because of who they are, you know, and the purpose often comes from the character type rather than the way they're making money. I think if you're really struggling, you're probably better off just putting a bow on it and starting again, doing something else, rather than sort of saying you're going to do something and then go, do you know what, we changed because we had to. But, you know, that's I think that's a cross that you have to carry for quite a long time if you feel you've compromised yourself. So there are loads of people with brilliant ideas who, for whatever reason, sometimes it's luck, judgment, timing, don't quite succeed. I mean, what I've learned sort of being involved in two startups and selling two businesses is, do you know what, most people don't succeed, and I think the biggest thing that an entrepreneur or a founder can realise is actually failure is not a bad thing. You know, if you personally, as somebody who hires people now, if somebody comes in and goes, I started this business because I really believed in it, but it went wrong, I go, good for you. You know, that's a big tick. I don't go, oh, you failed. You know, it's a sign of resilience, it's a sign of commitment, it's a sign of entrepreneurialism, and there's nothing wrong with not succeeding.